Hello, friends. Topic: caffeine update, attention, and some thoughts I've had the last few days about caffeine having something to do with me going to sleep and not having any caffeine and not able to sleep. To start, my caffeine intake has been massively taken down in the last 2 months or so. I'm looking back on my entire life and I'm thinking about when did I have caffeine out? Because I've gone through fitness crazes where I wanted to get ripped and all that. And I was using a lot of caffeine. And there's times when I wasn't touching any kind of caffeinated beverages, no coffee, nothing. And I was saying, okay, yeah, I've had times where I wasn't taking in any caffeine. And then I remember, hang on, I was taking in chocolate protein powders, a lot of it, caffeine. And there's 5 different stimulants in chocolate. One of them is theobromine, and the other ones, I don't remember off the top of my head. Check it out, Google it. Psychoactive stimulants. Well, since I was thinking about this, I'm realizing I don't think I've ever had caffeine out of my life. Ever. My entire life. When I was a young kid, my family consumed massive amounts of soda and chocolate. I remember drinking Coca Cola when I was a baby. I remember Coca Cola in my baby bottle. Now, my father, he's a Coca Cola advocate. He loves his Coca Cola. He'd get into fights with my mother about how she didn't buy him Coca Cola. She'd get a RC 2 liter bottle. Where's my Coca Cola? They'd get into it big time. I remember cracking a Coca Cola, drinking, and this is when I'm 5, whatever. Getting a Coca Cola out of the fridge, cracking it, drinking maybe half of it, leaving it on the counter. Because I was drinking so many of them, there was just Coke cans laying everywhere with half Cokes, and that would be a lot of fights. And that would be a lot of, hey, drink all your Coke. You gotta drink all your Coke. So I would sit there and I'd think to myself, okay, I need to drink all of it. So I'd guzzle the whole thing down, even though I didn't want to. And then, because I'm just a kid and I don't know, I'm just getting another one out of the fridge, getting another one out of the fridge. Always, always, always some kind of chocolate cereals. I ate a lot of cereal when I was a kid. I ate a lot of chocolates. We always had chocolates laying around. Candies, the chocolate bars you can get, the little fun size ones. We always had those, bags of them. I know there's a lot of people right now that have those bags laying around. I'd get the chocolate milk. My parents always had some kind of chocolate milk. And chocolate donuts, those little donuts. Not to make anyone hungry out there, because this is all, in my opinion, this is all garbage. So let me fast forward to when I was in my late 20s. Here I am, I'm getting into fitness, I'm getting into body stuff, bodybuilding, fitness, losing fat, cutting, etc. And I was taking in supplements that have stimulants in them, and some of those have far out stimulants that were, I I don't remember the exact names of some of these stimulants. Some of them was I think a guana. Some of them were. I mean, some of these, a lot of them are called post or pre workout mixes and all that, and they didn't last long because they'd get taken out because they were iffy about the whatever they were putting in it, whatever kind of ingredients they were putting in it. And some of them I would find and I'd take them and I loved them because who doesn't love stimulants? So, and here I am now, 41, and I'm saying to myself, I still take in caffeine. I've had years where I'm not taking in coffee, and I never really cared about coffee until really later in my days. Well, one thing I noticed is that if my health is doing real well, and I have saturated fats down, and my cellular intake and my insulin sensitivity is real well, I'm better off. My body is utilizing and my receptors and everything are doing much better than a very unhealthy me, which I can tell the difference. Caffeine effect is different then. So let's say that I have an unhealthy me. I can take in way more caffeine. My body's not really taking in a lot of this properly. I'll just put it that way to keep it simple. Here I am, though, a more healthy me, and caffeine is more potent in my day to day. I definitely can tell that only a small amount of caffeine can have a large impact. And something you've got to keep in mind with caffeine is the body will downregulate and upregulate depending on how much you've been using. So similar to heroin use, if you haven't been, let's say you said, okay, I'm gonna not use heroin, and then you go back to using heroin a couple weeks later, and you load up real hard, well, that's when a lot of people will die from using too much. The body adjusted, downregulated, or upregulated, whatever. It was it's the homeostasis factor, where the body gets used to something, to keep it simple. And then, so with caffeine, if I'm not taking in a lot of it, and then I have a cup of coffee, and then I hit that crash real fast. So if you are a human being, you know what the caffeine crash is, because everyone takes in caffeine, basically. And the caffeine crash is crap, because you instantly want to go sleep. You want to lay down and go to bed. And if you take some of these weight loss pills, or if you take some kind of yohimbine, or you take any of these real strong stimulants, you'll get that crash within a couple of hours easily. You'll get the jitters and you're freaking out. Maybe your mind's racing, similar to some things that have to do with your mind or your mood swings. And then there's the crash, where you're just, there's just nothing. And then you've got to get to a point where you can crawl back up. Well, the significance of caffeine and the power that it has over humanity, I think, is interesting in itself, and that it's not classified as a drug, even though it is a drug. It's a natural source, the same as cocaine and opiates, morphine. It's marijuana is a natural substance. I mean, they're all natural, and any kind of drugs that are in prescriptions are generally, there's a base natural ingredient, and then it's altered and messed with, and then you have super drug in a pill, basically. They have to use certain things to get to this altering drug. This that they are not just coming up with these drugs and this is just some kind of thing that we've made, and then we're going to brand it and trademark it, and it's your life is going to depend on it type things. No, there's actually something that they've got to take from, and then they have it with their changing things around. So I've taken the caffeine down, and I'm at about at least under 100 milligram a day, and I'm probably less than that. And then if I have more than 100 milligram, I'm really noticing that there's issues. I need to sleep, or I'll get low real fast. And I've noticed that a lot of individuals that make videos about bipolar, mood, BPD, mood swing-ish, anything, a lot of times they have a cup of coffee in their hands. I've got my coffee and I feel so good. Or it's very rarely that they have a Red Bull or they have a Monster, which a lot of people are drinking these too. It's usually coffee talk time, and this is a lot of people on YouTube where it's a cool thing to have your coffee and talk. I have my coffee. I feel good. I'm coffee time. Coffee time is probably relaxing them and getting them feeling good, so that way they can talk. I.e., me drinking a little beer when I make my videos, usually, because it calms me down a little bit, so that way I can do this. It's a drug. It's a drug when it has an effect, in a way where it's, hang on, I can eat wheat all day. Am I affected in a way where I consider it a drug? Not so much. If I take in sugar all day, sucrose, can I consider that a drug? I'd say so, because that lights you up if you take in a lot of table sugar. And if you take in a lot of table sugar with your coffee, double time. Double time, the emotion swings, the some crying, some strange laughter, some strange behavior that's not so typical of you. So look at sodas that have caffeine in them. Look at Jolt, that actually says on there double, triple the caffeine. And it has the sugar, and it's gonna light you up, and it's gonna make you crash bad. So chocolate really never does well with my moods. This is self-evident. So chocolate is addictive. It's addicting. And if I take it out after a few weeks, the same as cigarettes or something, then I come around to not wanting it as much. If I'm sitting there watching someone eating some chocolate, I'm going to have a difficult time with that. It's a very addictive substance, chocolate is. So, to stay with how it's been with me, at least, my blood flow has been better because there's not as much vasoconstriction. That's one thing that you got to keep in mind every time that you're having a cup of coffee or chocolate or any of that. You're going to have constriction of your blood vessels. So the smaller they are, the more of an issue you're going to have. And that's your brain, your genitals, your toes, your fingers, your hands, your skin. So that's all things you have to keep in mind. So anytime you're having health issues, or you're having pains in your stomach, or you're having pains in your neck, or you're having headaches, or you're having chest pains, or knee issues, or any of that, look at your stimulant intake under the microscope. Look at everything, even if it's healthy, a protein powder or whatever, anything that's considered healthy, what you've been having at some parties during Christmas time, any Halloween, anything, you're gonna be taking in massive amounts of stimulants. You're gonna be taking in a massive amount of caffeine. So when you're at your daytime situation and you're around whatever, and there's a pop machine, and you're grabbing a pop, you're getting a soda, which most of them have caffeine in it. There's the Sprites and all that stuff that have other chemicals in it that are not good. I'm not going to go there. Still, it doesn't have caffeine in it. So if that's the mission, at least for now, then yeah, you want to go for the Sprite then instead of the Dr. Pepper or the or Barks root beer, caffeine. How about tea? Tea time. Oh, I'm gonna have tea time with my friends. Caffeine. Unless you go for the celestial seasonings or whatever, the herbal teas. I think that people want to take in caffeine when there's a critical time, when they're going to be around others, when they've got to think, when they've got to relax and just chill out. That's why there's coffee talk, cliche or whatever, trademark coffee talk, or tea time, where you have a friend come over and you have tea. Things get things get changed up when you take in caffeine. You have more verbal flow. Blah 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 blah. You could talk about this. Oh, that's great, and you can have interest in what the other people are talking about. Oh, great, great, great. And then you have your little cookies that you feed them. Your little tea time cookies. This is England. This is Britain. This is big in Britain. They have their Earl Grey, and they have their one lump or two. No, so there's a system to this. There's a public system to this where people are using this drug to do certain things. And this comes back on us, especially people that are moody, that are going to have emotions flying off the hook. think I think that that's probably a massive portion of a lot of issues that I have. Now imagine taking a little infant and putting other kinds of drugs in their baby bottle, and then they're 41. Okay, well, you had a whole life of taking in this thing that fucked you up. But we've got an issue here. We've got a big issue. This is not something that we can throw under the rug. And I think that the more everyone does it, the more it's not really something that's the issue, the root of a lot of issues. How do I convince myself just to go in a direction in life that doesn't include this substance? How do I get on? get away from this? How do I get away from this? I played around with high amounts of caffeine years ago. We're talking a gram or so of caffeine at one time. And I remember when I was sitting there, I had I just sat there, and it was an awful feeling. And I had to call up my friend, and I had to say, hey, just talk to me for a minute. Just talk to me. And it was a very strange thing, because I generally, I'm not going to do that. I was like, hey man, just talk to me, man. Psychologically, that caffeine had really gotten on top of me. So are you gonna know what something is doing to you unless you've played around with it that way? There's no doubt you've probably taken that much caffeine in your life. You probably know what I'm talking about. I intentionally did it, and I realized the high end of what caffeine can do. Now let's say you smoked a lot of crack. Well, you're gonna possibly have a heart attack and die. Or you did a bunch of opiates. Well, your heart will shut down and you'll die. Well, with caffeine, we're more resilient to this drug. It can be more mainstream because people are not gonna die so much from this. Because if you take too much in, you're gonna feel uneasy. You're gonna feel like shit. So people just don't go there. They don't go with that much. Most people are going to say, yeah, I only have 1 cup a day. Or, we limit ourselves on how many sodas we drink or how many Red Bulls we have. We know our threshold. So it's a deceptive drug, the same as sugar. You can take in sugar all day. On Thanksgiving or Easter or whatever, you could take Halloween, you could take sugar all day and be a zombie in the night and suffer for the rest of the week. It's not going to kill you. Anyways, that's what I've been going at. It's what I've been thinking about here lately, along with many other things. How much does that have to do with emotion swings? And to end this real quickly, I'll talk about the going to sleep factor. And then anxiety being on this side, and then caffeine breaking me down to where I'm basically just exhausted, and then I can get some sleep. I know myself well. I know my family, and it makes sense that my family takes in so much caffeine. It really does. Not that everyone else isn't taking in caffeine. My family's taking in quite a bit. I've noticed that my mother, when she's taking in a lot of caffeine, we get into fights. So she just had dinner somewhere, so she plugged down 3 Diet Cokes or whatever, and then she comes over and we get into a fight. Or turn that around. It's the other way around. It's me, whatever. With some kind of substance, or usually caffeine. This is a little bit of a dilemma because I have anxiety very badly. My nerves get on top of me. And most of the people on my father's side end up with Parkinson's. So nerve situations in my bloodline, definitely. Thus the beer, thus the caffeine. And there's nothing I love more than having coffee with beer. And I stopped doing that months ago. No more coffee with beer. And now I've got it down to the point where I have little scoopers, those little white tiny scoopers with caffeine powder that I have in a jug, and I'll take one scoop and I'll put it in my mouth. And that's all I'll get for the day. Strangely enough, I understand that I've got to keep some kind of homeostasis. I've got to keep something coming in so that way I'm in check. Because I know that if I take it out, I'm going to have issues, which I do. So this is a part of my coming off of it. So there's a tip. I got this caffeine thing a long time ago, and it's lasted me. And it doesn't go bad. It's just powder. It's just caffeine powder. That's all it is. And I have the little 5 milligram whatever scoopers, tiny. So it's definitely less than 100 milligram, and that's it. No coffee, no nothing. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the coffee. I'd like to get it out. Because I'm not, whenever I'm doing the coffee, I'm not really measuring exactly how much caffeine I'm taking in. I know how many scoops I'm using, or I know how many beans I'm grinding. Still, I'm not satisfied with that. It's something I want to get out anyways. They put chemicals in that anyways. They do. It's a little different when I take in pure caffeine. Then I can taste chemicals or bitterness or whatever. If it's just pure caffeine, I'm good to go on an exact amount, at least. You get what I'm saying? It's similar to counting calories type thing. I think this is very important, extremely important for depression, for mania. As far as anxiety goes, it can go either way. If it's something that makes me crash and I can go to sleep, not really. That's how the mind messes with us, with me. How I can say, oh, well, it helps me go to sleep or whatever. I'm just justifying this drug, the doing something for me. I'm still going to have sleep issues, and I'm still going to have anxiety. At least I won't have the other issues that have to do with the caffeine. So once I'm 100%, and I think this will be a first for my whole life. Once I'm 100% not using caffeine, I'll come back in and I'll do another update, and I'll let you know how it's going. I look forward to that because I want to get there. So I'm going to. It's going to be rough. I'm going to say no to any kind of fluids or coffee or any of that kind of stuff for a while. Because I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of this, knowing that this is a fact and truth of my life, that I've been so attached to caffeine. With so many issues, with so many body problems, with so many issues. And then when I lighten up on it, my body issues start to decrease. And then my mind issues are still there. So it makes sense why people will say, no, I gotta go back. I need to get back on this and have my coffee. I've heard too many times people saying that I will not start the day without my cup of coffee. I have to have my cup of coffee. So there's dependency, in my opinion. That's dependency. That's a drug. It's different where you can take out a food and not eat it for 4 or 5 months. It's different than what I'm talking about. So that's my info on the caffeine update. And I was also going to talk about attention to everything and how caffeine has something to do with that. Well, I'll just have to keep you updated because I don't know how this drug is really so awesome for making attention more clear. Because I've heard other people say this to me in person, that if they drink the 8 cups of coffee a day, that they have more attention. And I don't know about that. So I gotta know for myself, at least, how it affects my body. So consider me the guinea pig. I'm going for it, and I'm going to eventually get it down to where I'm taking a half scoop, and then quarter scoop, and then nothing. And then that will be a brand new, a brave new human, where something I've had my entire life basically will be out of my life. And that I may consider the most powerful drug of all. And some people might laugh at that or scoff. I'm not. I recognize this. I realize it. This is a drug. It's being used by corporations and companies and rich people to spin you up. Think of the clarity that humans possibly may have if everyone just took this shit out. I want to know. So I'll let you know. Real soon. We'll get there. Good night. Thanks for watching. Appreciate my buddies on here. Keep rocking and rolling. Enjoy your spring. Enjoy your soon to come summer. Get your bikes. Fill the tires up with some air. Have some fun. Go out and ride around a little bit. I'm going to. Here real soon. As soon as it's not so chilly. Take care.